Hello, we are Team 8, and today we will be presenting on the topic of team decision-making in virtual and face-to-face environments. The study we examined was conducted by O'Neill, Hancock, Zivkov, Larson, and Law, and was published in December of 2015. The modern workplace uses face-to-face and virtual teams in order to conduct business operations. A common issue with face-to-face teams is the tendency of members to withhold unique information, which can result in less than optimal decisions being made. It is quite possible that virtual teams could suffer from the same obstacle. But this topic has not been extensively researched until now. While virtual teams do maintain some advantages over face-to-face teams, for example, the scrutiny of non-routine tasks, it is believed that there is still room for improvement. The goal of the study we reviewed was to determine if the virtual teams made less effective decisions when tasked with finding a correct solution or finding a solution that seemed most likely relative to their face-to-face counterparts.
Hello, I am Vivek Sharma. The theoretical foundation for this study focuses on conveyance and convergence communication processes. Conveyance is basically information pooling, and convergence is shared understanding. The task used in this study is termed a hidden profile decision-making and involves both the convergence and conveyance. However, the proportion of this communication processes depends on judge versus solve decision frame. In judge decision frame, members communicate to reach consensus. This decision frame favors conveyance. However, in solve decision frame, members communicate to discover optimal solutions. This decision frame therefore favors convergence. A good understanding of these concepts is critical as they are part of the hypothesis development for the research and will be discussed next by my colleague.
I will be discussing the hypothesis development. 3 team psychological states were considered: competitive interdependence, relationship conflict, and team potency. Competitive interdependence is closely related to distributive negotiations when members see discussions as win or lose. Relationship conflict involves the occurrence of interpersonal frictions and personality clashes. Team potency is the collective support of team members to perform tasks at a high level. The tested hypothesis in this article is that in face-to-face teams, competitive interdependence and relationship conflict should be unaffected by the decision frame because face-to-face interactions offer social information through transmission velocity, immediacy of feedback, and symbol variety. These cues are needed to support perceptions of interconnectedness, cooperative, and cohesive behavior. In virtual teams, divergent perspectives encouraged by solve frames have increased potential for being perceived as impolite. Communication mediums such as instant messaging have lower transmission velocity, immediacy of feedback, and symbol variety, which hinders promotion of a shared understanding. The article argues that there will be an interaction between the communication medium and the decision frame in teams' levels of decision processes. Some behaviors, such as searching for an alternative solution, are perceived as constructive in face-to-face meetings because they're supported by the presence of nonverbals that facilitate cohesion and trust. This leads to higher integrative conflict management in face-to-face solve teams. Virtual media, on the other hand, can feel cold and insensitive. Because of the relative lack of social cues, benefits of solve frames in face-to-face teams will not translate to virtual teams. In these teams, judge frames are advantageous over solve frames because it encourages consensus seeking rather than decision optimization. The article considers 4 variables that describe the team's decision behavior: the total information discussed, the length of the team discussion, efficiency, and the total unique information discussed. The article predicts these 4 items will be greater in solve frames than in judge frames in face-to-face meetings, but will not differ between frames in virtual meetings.
The participants were 195 undergraduate psychology students organized into 65 3-person teams. The participants were randomly assigned either face-to-face or virtual team condition and randomly assigned to receive either a judge or solved decision frame. The task for the participants was to identify most suitable candidate for a vacant airline pilot position. Applicants A, B, and D appeared to have an identical number of positive and negative attributes, but candidate C had fewer positive attributes but was the best hire. Initially, candidates ranked the job applicants individually. In the solve frame, participants were told that one of the 4 applicants is unambiguously the best according to expert opinion and were asked to decide as a team which of the 4 pilots should be hired. Similarly, in the judge frame, participants were told that there is no unambiguously best applicant according to expert opinion and were asked to reach consensus on a team ranking for the applicant's suitability for the job. Participants then met with their team either in a face-to-face or via instant messaging in virtual environment. Finally, participants completed a survey measuring the team processes and emergent state variables. The measures were team psychological states, decision processes, and decision behavior in a 5-point Likert-like scale.
The results, however, clearly favor Model 3 as the model with the significantly best fit according to the chi-square change values, and the only model with acceptable CFI and RMSEA values. This supports the convergent and discriminant validity of the self-report study measures. In this table, Table 2, there are a number of noteworthy correlations to consider. First, the instruction frame did not correlate with any variable. Second, the medium was correlated negatively with constructive controversy and positively with competitive interdependence and relationship conflict, highlighting some of the disadvantages of interacting with virtually for members' quality of interactions. Third, the medium had a strong negative correlation with efficiency. Because efficiency is a measure of the information queues discussed per minute, this indicates that VTs were much less efficient than F2F teams. Table 3 contains the means and standard deviations for outcome variables by study cell and its cases where interactions were significant or marginally significant. We focus on study cells rather than the conditions, given the emphasis on interactions rather than the main effects in the current research. We adopted planned analysis because of the interaction hypotheses are the focus of the theory described earlier, which clearly specify a particular form of the interaction.
The question we examined today was, does conducting teamwork face-to-face result in significantly different outcomes relative to teamwork done virtually? The study conducted indicates that there are significantly different results between the 2 methods of interaction. In the study, 65 teams were given decision-making tasks. Some of the groups held meetings face-to-face while others met virtually. Another element of the study involved differences in decision frames. Some groups were told to find the demonstrably correct solution, while their counters were instructed to find the most likely solution. Ultimately, face-to-face teams performed better under both decision frames. The interesting research conducted provides relevant insight into the work environment we have been dealing with during the COVID-19 pandemic. We look forward to your questions on the discussion board.